This is how to do a glue up. This is going to be a floating shelf. It's about 11 1/4 inches wide, but the process is the same for whatever your clamps can reach. First thing you need, flat surface to work on. I'm using my workbench. Then make yourself some cauls. They're just flat pieces of wood that you're going to clamp. This has been run down the joiner and foil tapes on them so I don't glue them to the piece that I'm working on. They all have little legs on here that are all the same length, and that's so the clamp can get underneath it easily and clamp to the top one, because for each one of these bottom ones you have a top one also coated in tape, and that squeezes it down, removes the need for biscuits if you don't have a biscuit joiner. And then once you start clamping the top, clamp two, then in between those two sets you can use these little cauls. They're just blocks to keep you from crushing the edge of your wood. They have these little tabs on there so that they can just hang on there. And then the pipe clamp fits between those little tabs and clamp it together. Now, as far as layout, I like to alternate the grain. I don't think it matters too much on this butcher block style, but I do it anyways. So looking at the end grain, if the first one goes up, the next one will go down, and in theory, the boards will pull against each other instead of all cupping one way if they were to ever cup. Makes a big difference on really big tables. Now, once the layout is good and I like it, looks all pretty, then I'll number everything, use whatever system you want. If this is row 2 and I have a second piece because I don't have one long enough to make the whole run, then I will glue the end here. There'll be a caul underneath it, and I'll label this like 2B, something like that. As far as glue, I use Titebond 3. Slightly longer drying time, although never long enough, it seems. And I use a 4-inch weenie roller, little tray. I coat the tray in this press and seal stuff. Makes cleanup really easy. So make sure you have enough cauls and enough clamps, and good luck.
I always make sure the roller is really saturated with glue before I start. I also set a timer for whatever the dry time of the glue is. The clock goes by really fast when dealing with dry times. Other obvious tricks are to have all my clamps ready and every piece of wood labeled and in the right spot. Sometimes I even do a dry run with the clamps before applying the glue. I always need way more clamps than I think. I hate running around looking for clamps while the glue is setting, so it's nice to have them ready. I coated both surfaces of wood really well. I got a little squeeze out, but not a big mess, which is ideal.
So I'll let this glue up sit overnight. Looks pretty good. A little bit of squeeze out here, which is what I want. Down here, which is the last place I can clamp, there's not nearly as much squeeze out, so you can see that the glue is starting to set up. Hopefully it holds pretty well. Also, because it was starting to set up, the cauls could fully flatten it. I also did get a little twist in it, it looks like. We'll run it through the planer and maybe the drum sander, see what it looks like. The one next to it that I did first, I didn't have the roller, so you can see it's way messier, a lot more squeeze out, but at least I know I have enough glue on this one. But the planer one's a little easier to work with, especially going through a planer and sander.